welcome back to another Inside Texas Live show, joined by my guy Nash Talks Texas and my guy Will Byron from the Door Report. Gentlemen, how we doing?
I'll start it out then. Interesting time to be a Vanderbilt fan, to say the least. I would say a lot of Vanderbilt fans right now are sitting saying we're certainly in uncharted waters, to get into some Commodore puns and some waterway puns here. But it's certainly an interesting time to be a Vanderbilt fan. A lot going on right now in the world of the SEC. A lot of parity going on across the board, and Vanderbilt is the number one example of that.
Yeah, a little too much parity in this conference for my blood pressure, mental health, physical health, all those things. Nash, how you doing, brother?
I'm barely surviving another week of Texas football. I mean, look, they're doing their best to put me in the hospital, but I'm still here. So
That was still here. Hey, my guy Remy here. Appreciate Remy keeping us on time tonight. He was like, "Where's the dang show? We're 1 minute behind," and I appreciate you being here, Remy. Anyone else watching, go ahead and comment on this. Let us know what you're thinking about Texas Vanderbilt. But in the meantime, go ahead and hop on over to InsideTexas.com. Go ahead and get you a $1 subscription. Number one place for all things Texas football and Texas athletics. Number one place for in-depth scoop, recruiting analysis, game scheme, all the things. And right now, the forums, the board, it's on fire. Midseason, these game day forums are a lot of fun. So go check that out. But yeah, welcome back, Will. This is, I think, his second go around here with Inside Texas, and we've had some fun together in the past. Will, as cool, as knowledgeable as any Vandy fan I have. So before anybody gets on here in the comments and like, oh, this guy's a homer, I promise this guy just knows ball. He's just allowed to have a pretty dang big smile right now because Vandy's playing good football. What do they call it, the underwater defense? Was that what you're referencing? I mean, I know that.
No, it was Deepwater. That was actually Vanderbilt's previous head coach, Derek Mason. So we don't discuss him too much as Vanderbilt fans. So we like to distance away. He's the man that almost destroyed Vanderbilt's uniforms. Thank you to Clark Lee for bringing back the traditional Vanderbilt look.
So even the slogan's got to go down with the man. I can respect that. But definitely a very fun matchup. You got a top 10 Vanderbilt coming into DKR, the first home game for Texas since September 20th. Feels crazy to say out loud. I think our team needs to be at home. I know they're going to be a little bit tired, but hoping they can feed on, the hopefully 100,000+ that'll be there in Burn Orange on Saturday. For you, Will, when you look at this Texas team, we talked a little bit in the past, but man, an up-to-date thought process for you when it comes to Texas and kind of just how they've been, how they performed, and what you expect on Saturday.
Well, man, I've got to start with the most obvious storyline to every Vanderbilt and Texas fan there is, which is the status of Arch Manning. And it seems to me, I don't know if you guys have any separate opinions or if you have any insight. I'd love to hear it. I've been out of commission, not checking things for the last 2 or 3 hours. It seems like Arch Manning is on the path to play. Does that feel correct by your guys' summation?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was just about to pop the old injury report up right here. That obviously this is updated. Last night, Arch was listed as questionable. Tonight, he's listed as questionable again. So I'm going to have that popped up here in just 1 second. But I'm going to go ahead and say that I do expect Arch to play in this game, and it's not because of any inside information or anything. It's just when you see him on the depth chart, on the injury report listed as questionable 2 weeks in a row, or 2 days in a row. I don't know. It's a good trend. I think him being questionable yesterday, it shows you maybe where he was at as far in recovery, and then as long as things continue to progress, and there you have it. Not super large. Let's get this a little bit bigger here. Well, tough to see there, but you can see, Arch and Michael Taft both, who is the quarterback of the defense, if you will, both listed as questionable. I'd expect both to play. Nash, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been looking like it's all week inside Texas. We've been on top of it all week. It's looking like Arch Manning's head towards playing on Saturday. I know some people are kind of they want to see a little bit of the backup quarterback going in after one pass to touchdown, but Arch Manning, he's looking like he's been. It was like the next day. He was already like rumored to like be going into like doing like team stuff. So, I mean, he has like 1 or 2 more steps to clear before he actually can be unrestricted, return to football. And at this point, he would have to have some major setback that causes him to go, step back on a step for an entire day. Otherwise, he's going to be, playing this Saturday. So it looks. I mean, this isn't any, like you said, this isn't some inside info, but just common sense says that he's headed towards playing.
Yeah, trend line for both of those guys seems to be positive. Even Taft being, questionable, it definitely, kind of, I believe Eric might have mentioned a little bit of how it might, doctor's orders might have been more for the Georgia game as far as when he should be coming back, but it's going to be really hard to keep that guy off the field. And like Nash just said, fully agree with you. If there's no setback for either gentleman, I expect both to be on the field. Then you move down to the probable list, you see Lance Jackson, who obviously has turned some heads at times this season. Going to be good if he's able to go. He's listed as probable along with Cole Hudson. Obviously missed a couple of weeks. Center for Texas, that could be a significant boost as far as he's a guy that up until the last 2 weeks was kind of in charge of the calls on this offensive line. So Nash, any thoughts on that probable list for Texas?
I mean, one, I'd love to see Cole Hudson on that probable list because we've been missing his. They talked about like it kind of sucked having going out of the Oklahoma game. We're hearing all this, Nick Brooks. Yeah, he's loving having that, Nick Cole Hudson right next to him. Making and he has confidence on the calls. And then immediately after that, it's like, okay, hey, by the way, Cole Hudson's out for like a week or two. Right. So it's like, okay, well, crap. There goes that confidence that we just had. So it'll be nice to see Cole Hudson come back in, and then that gives us a little bit more play on, if we had lost DJ Campbell with Cole Hudson healthy, then all of a sudden it's Cole Hudson goes to right guard, not Connor Stroh. So it gives us a little bit more play with injuries, but also Lance Jackson, dude's a monster. He's a guy that if he wasn't playing on a football team with, multiple NFL edges already, he would be breaking out as a legit freshman defensive end.
Had myself muted. Lance is very, very physically impressive, and that's a guy that you want to see on the field because this Texas defense a little bit tired, and make sure you can still have the deep rotation that we've had amongst that defensive or the edge room in particular, but just all across the board, definitely love seeing Cole. Will, anything notable on the Vandy side of this injury report?
No. To be just boring and frank, every single player that you see listed there is not a significant contributor. And the only one that is a significant contributor is Issa Wataha there, and he hasn't played the entire season. So he was expected to be Vanderbilt's starting defensive tackle. He has not played the entire year due to an injury. So nothing out of the ordinary on that Vanderbilt injury report.
Well said, sir. Seems like Vanderbilt, has done a pretty impressive job of keeping their guys healthy throughout the year. They've how do we get the guys? There we go. Oh, this is new. We'll go. Still alive here, trying to figure this out. I haven't had that happen before, and
we've disappeared.
All right, we're working our way back. Wow, that was struggling out there. I hadn't had that bop and pop up, but we're here. Y'all have traded positions. Will's on top right now. Sorry about that, Nash. So yeah, but no, nothing notable about that. When it comes to this Vandy team, Will, talk to the Longhorn fans that maybe don't know much about them. What are who are we going to know more about come maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock? We're playing earlier than that, but who are we going to be talking about on the Vandy side of the game outside of Diego Pavia, who obviously everyone knows, and Eli Stowers, who had a big game against the Horns last year? Welcome, Evan.
Hello.
Welcome, Evan. So Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia gets almost all the headlines, and I think for the most part that's deservedly slow. For the most part, but this Vanderbilt team is 7-1 for a lot of reasons, and it's not just Diego Pavia. He's a huge reason for that. Eli Stowers, like you mentioned, preseason first team AP All-American at tight end. He's going to be an NFL player. But this Vanderbilt team has a lot of depth and a lot of talent across the board, both offensive and defensively. I would say on the offensive side of the ball, starting with the running game, that's kind of the first place to look at. Vanderbilt's had a lot of success running the football this season. They're third in the country in yards per carry versus FBS opponents. And guess where Texas sits as a rushing defense against FBS opponents? Third in the country against FBS. This doesn't include FCS, so the stats I have are only FBS, so you're very close there, Nash. But this is going to be a battle of good on good once again, so I'll start with Vanderbilt's running back group. Vanderbilt has maybe one of the best 1-2 punches in the country out of their backfield. The running back, the bell cow there is Cedric Alexander. He runs the ball hard, number 28. He has some explosive playmaking capability that you've seen a little bit more out of him this season, good at making the first guy miss, but he runs hard. The guy that has sealed the game or made some extremely impact plays and explosive plays for Vanderbilt out of that backfield over the last 2 weeks against LSU and Missouri is a guy by the name of M.K. Young, who is also another New Mexico State transfer. He is what this offense was lacking last season. Last year, I talked about it all offseason. Vanderbilt did not have a rush by a running back for over 31 yards last season. That was the longest rush by a running back. This year, not a problem. Last week against Missouri, M.K. Young had an 80-yard rushing touchdown. He's a little bit more of that, and this isn't the perfect comparison, but kind of that David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs-esque combination of a 1-2 punch. On the outside, Vanderbilt's wide receiver number 1 is a guy by the name of Junior Sherrill. Really talented guy, a true SEC wide receiver 1. He's the guy Vanderbilt relies on to beat one-on-one matchups in particular or in the red zone. On the outside as well, their wide receiver number 2 is a guy named Trey Richardson. He was actually a Division II transfer from a school called Washburn. Most people have not heard of, but he's their speed gadget guy. Had a really incredible toe drag catch last week against Missouri that changed the momentum quite a bit. Vanderbilt likes to utilize him in a lot of different ways, whether it's jet sweeps, whether it's down the field passes. He's somebody to keep an eye on. And then Vanderbilt's tight end number 2, Cole Spence. He's a really good blocking tight end. He's also 6'7" and a red zone target. Against LSU, he was Vanderbilt's leading receiver with 5 catches for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. No catches the next week against Missouri. So he's a guy dependent on the game plan, whether he's going to be involved in the passing game. On the defensive side of the football, Vanderbilt has one of the most underrated defensive fronts, I think, in the SEC or across the country. Vanderbilt does a really good job of getting pressure on the quarterback as well as stifling the run game. Miles Capers is a name to keep an eye on. He's a very elite edge rusher, number 29, as well as Corday Sidnor, really talented guy, former Purdue transfer, produces a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And then another transfer, Vanderbilt's full of those, Zaylen Wood, in his second year with Vanderbilt, was a former MTSU player. He's a dog on the inside. At linebacker, Vanderbilt's really deep, a lot of talent, a lot of rotation you're going to see in that front 7 for Vanderbilt. At linebacker, they have Brian Longwell and Langston Patterson. Those 2 guys are kind of the staples of this Vanderbilt defense. But on third downs and in packages, they utilize a couple guys, Nick Rinaldi, Brian Longwell, really explosive athletes. Nick Rinaldi's a former walk-on, very good at blitzing the quarterback, getting pressure on the quarterback. And then my personal favorite player on Vanderbilt's defense is a guy by the name of C.J. Hurd, a.k.a. the Sea Snake, an FAU transfer. He had maybe the defensive highlight play of the week last week, if you guys saw the Vanderbilt-Missouri game. On a blitz, streaked in, I don't even know the proper term, read the snap count, stole the ball away from Missouri on an exchange with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Vanderbilt went down, punched the ball in, and that was ultimately the difference in the game. So C.J. Hurd's going to make a couple highlight plays, I expect, or hopefully so. And then one last guy I'll point out is Randon Fontenette, really talented guy that plays that star position in this unique 4-2-5 Clark Lee defense, now run by Steve Gregory. He's another guy that's extremely talented as well.
I mean, a lot of positives on this football team with on both sides of the ball, man. Evan, welcome. Sorry, Evan's tardiness was not on his own accord. It was Discord's fault. Had issue getting the correct link to Evan in the email. And if some random guy just pops in with that we don't know, I'll get him out of here, okay? But
they're suppressing me.
Yeah, making it hard on my guy. But yeah, welcome, Evan. Talk to me, man. What makes this Vanderbilt team difficult to defend? And what do you think Texas kind of? We roll out a lot of the same game plan that we saw last year from PK, or what do you expect to see?
Yeah, I think it starts with Stowers, like Will brought up, because the nice thing about Vanderbilt when you're playing against them, from what I've seen, is there's some spots where you do have that NFL edge. Where you just maybe on the defensive line you have some guys that are just a little bit bigger and stronger than what Vanderbilt usually recruits, but when you're getting the transfer portal players like a Stowers, who eventually turns into a guy who probably is going to be a third-round pick in the NFL, is going to be really big, like big slot tight end, not quite like a true inline. Like that's where it kind of shifts what this Vanderbilt team can be compared to what you've thought of in the years past. And MK Young will, like when I was watching these games, I'm like, who is this guy? I don't remember him from last year, and it's because he wasn't really a factor last year. But yeah, he has that like explosiveness that I wasn't really used to seeing with Vanderbilt. It's not a team I think of for explosives, and it really isn't for passing much. But those 50+ yard runs, like you said, weren't a thing last year, and suddenly he's going 8-9 yards per carry on his 6 carries because he's getting these huge breakouts. And I think that's one thing that Texas didn't have to deal with last year, and then now they've got a back who, if he gets the edge on a guy like Littleton, who inexperienced cornerback, hasn't been able to play against this type of offense very much. Like if you're getting MK Young out on the edge and he's getting past a safety, like that's goodbye. That's a home run hit that maybe Cedric Alexander or Pavia wouldn't be getting.
That's really well said, man. It adds a whole dynamic, a different dynamic to that offense than they had a year ago in this matchup. And if you play undisciplined football at all and you lose containment, they couldn't hit that home run last year against some of these better defenses this year. Like you said, if he's even, he's leaving, man. The dude can fly. How about you, Nash? Kind of the same question, man. What makes this attack from the doors intense?
I mean, it's really the rushing attack, and that's kind of to what Will said earlier. This is strength on strength for Texas versus Vanderbilt. When you're looking at Vanderbilt, this is a team that they're number one in the country for 40-yard rushes, with eight rushes in the nation. Texas, we haven't allowed a 40-yard rush on us all year long. Now, and I know that kind of seems a little cheap considering that shovel pass is pretty much a rush, but the ball is moving forward through the air, so it does get logged as a pass. But still, that's a play that Texas doesn't allow that often. And to watch, I mean, really, we're going to be – something's got to give, right? One team's going to succeed, and it's either going to be Vanderbilt's going to capitalize on Texas with these long rushing gains, or Texas is going to be able to stop them. But, I mean, listen to Will, man. That kind of – as a Texas fan, man, that really makes me kind of almost crap my pants hearing about all that defensive line pressure and, the defensive linemen, guys timing up the snap, basically stealing exchanges. That for a guy like Arch Manning, who's been under as much pressure as he has, man, this does not feel like a week that it's going to be letting up anytime soon.
That's well said, man. A lot to be excited about. I mean, Andy is a very confident bunch. I think that's pretty crystal clear. And if I were them, I would be too. Look at what they've done in a very short time in college football and what they still have left on the table here. We'll keep talking horns and doors. So first, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Laura Baker.
If you're looking for a home in the Austin area, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. Laura's a part of the elite Andy Allen team at Keller Williams Realty. She's helped Longhorns find their dream homes all over Central Texas. You can just ask our very own Ian Boyd, who moved from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Whether you're searching in Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, San Marcos, or even parts of the 254 or the 210, Laura has you covered. So call 512-784-0505, or you can email her at laura@andyallenteam.com. She's a Longhorn, a friend of Inside Texas, and the person you need to call to get your next home in Central Texas. Call Laura Baker today. Contact info is in the description.
All right, guys. And so, it's for me, looking at Vanderbilt, what really makes them tough to defend is, they can go from sideline to sideline, and they've shown the ability to run jet sweeps, to run counters off of that. They can run in the interior. They can run on the outside. And you have to be really, really disciplined. And they are not, as Evan said, they're not going to be known for explosives in the passing game necessarily. Texas likes to play bend but don't break style on defense. And against a team like Vanderbilt, who's very comfortable taking, 3, 4, 5 yards and, making you earn stops, being really, efficient on third downs, that's pretty concerning when it comes to, Vandy and defending them. And a defense has been on the field a lot over the last 2 weeks. I think if Vandy puts together a 7-8 minute drive, that hurts a lot, and that's what Texas needs to avoid, in my opinion, is get Vandy off the field early on a couple of these series, feed off the juice from the home crowd. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but I mean, it's a lot of snaps over the last 2 weeks. And so I do think that, depth matters in this game. Luckily, we're pretty deep on the D line, but, up until, I hate to say it, but we looked like we had maybe more juice there in the fourth quarter once they maybe had a little bit of belief in the offense. And maybe that's not it, but when they start to have some belief, they see them moving the football several drives in a row there. They woke up a little bit. So maybe they're not tired the way that I'm thinking they may be. But I am very concerned about this. Evan, we always ask this question. We'll ask this question for you as well. But 1 to 10 scale, Evan, your confidence level going in for a Texas victory would be?
Confidence in Texas winning or confidence in Texas losing?
Confidence in us winning, sir.
Oh God, like a 3. I don't know. I actually do have some of this. I'm maybe been playing myself up on the mystique of a culture win. I wrote about it today for Texas, but just confidence that they're going to straight up win. I'm not confident. I think it can happen for sure, but this is a different Vandy team than we saw last year. This is a worse Texas team than we saw last year. I think I saw Pate say something about how that line has moved 3 touchdowns since the offseason, which is just absurd to think about, which shows how good Vandy is and shows how much worse Texas is. But your 2 best players are 2 of your 5 best players are questionable for this game. Not a lot of confidence for me, though. It can happen, but yeah, I'm going to keep it low as I have been with these past 2 shows, which has shown up pretty well for me, to be fair.
I hate to say that, you've been probably more spot on than anybody else in the panels the last couple of weeks, which makes for a long football game, my man. Nash, same question, my man. 1 through 10, what's your confidence level at?
I just want to add on to what you said first before I get to this. Is that Texas is coming off of really long, back-to-back 86 play games for the defense. The amount of times that Steve Sarkisian had the Steve Sarkisian defenses had 80 plays in a single game over 2024 and 2023 combined was 2 games. So we've already done that. This defense is really taxed, and it's even more than we've ever really seen. And it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch. But that's going to lower my confidence a little bit. But still, I have so much confidence in this Texas run defense. I think defense wins at the end of the day. When it's pitching versus hitting, pitching is going to win. That's why if you hit 3 times out of 10 and you're successful, you go to the Hall of Fame in baseball. But yeah, I would put my confidence right about a 6.5. It's not, it's almost like a coin flip here, but I give Texas the edge just because we're at home, and then also defense. I think defense is a little bit more important in my book.
Fair enough, brother. You didn't mention offense one time in that stretch, and that kind of worries me.
No. No. Look, my confidence is full. My confidence fully comes from the defense. I am not. Some people might call me a sunshine pumper. When the offense goes out there, I hope we score. Okay,
that's fair enough. I mean, you didn't mention Ryan Niblett either. Obviously, if it's defense, it's going to have to be with some special teams too. I don't know if you overcome an offense. It's
I don't know if a team wants to punt to Ryan Niblett anymore, right?
Would be shot.
Let's give that offense a chance out there on the field, right? I don't care if it's a 30-yard punt, right? Ryan Niblett running the ball back 60, 70 yards. That's a lot more dangerous than anything else that could happen. So
yeah,
I know. Like you said, that punt return when that kind of happened, right? And the offense started to wake up. It's like the defense is like, oh wait, hold on, wait, the season isn't on our back anymore. Wait, we can play free? Yeah. Fun football.
I need everybody because I think Vandy's going to be a pretty dang tough out, man. All right, Will.
They're not the normal nerds.
I got to know where your confidence is 1 through 10, brother.
Man, it is varied a lot. I think if you would ask me this before the season, I had Texas almost written off, even if Vanderbilt makes a miraculous run like you're witnessing right now. This Texas game was marked as one of those I had as a written-in loss. With what I have seen out of Texas, and I've watched quite a bit, I mean, coming off back-to-back overtime victories, granted they were on the road, but against Kentucky and Mississippi State, and you guys mentioned the 80-plus plays for the defense. I think regardless of depth, that does wear down a defense. So I'm not going anything crazy, but I think somewhere between a 6 and a 7 I didn't mean to do that. Trying to get your youthful listener base excited about that. But yeah, somewhere between a 6 and a 7 there. I am
That was
disgustingly
intentional.
Yeah, that
it
went right
actually
over
was.
my head until you mentioned the
Yeah,
youth
it actually
listener.
wasn't until I said it. But yeah, I'm in a way disgusted by the slight confidence that I have in Vanderbilt right now. The way this team plays, I think something about how they beat Missouri last week gives me a little more confidence against this Texas team. I think Vanderbilt is playing the 2 best defensive fronts. They'll play the entire season in back-to-back games. This is Vanderbilt's 4th straight game against a top 20 AP ranked team. I watched this Vanderbilt team be outgained by Missouri last week. Neutral turnover battle. They lost time of possession, and they still found a way to win. So that instilled some confidence into me in this Vanderbilt team can win in multiple ways. And I was pretty impressed by the defense's performance last week. So I'm going to go with 6.5 on my confidence scale of Vanderbilt victory.
I like it. We had nobody above 6.5, but I think I'm in between all you guys. Yeah, I would literally, I don't know. I think I predicted 24-23 Texas today. I don't know. I think that Vanderbilt will move the football a little bit. I think Texas will move the football a little bit. Ultimately, like, does Texas continue to shoot themselves with penalties and poor pass protection? Because if they do that, then Vanderbilt wins the football game. That's something that Diego's been doing a really good job. I mean, he hasn't given up or hasn't taken a ton of sacks this year. I think they're like negative 37 and you lost sack yardage. I'm kind of terrified to look cards up. Actually, once I looked that up, I didn't even look cards up because I was like, there's just no way. And again, what does Texas's offense look like if it is Matthew Caldwell? We're feeling like Arch Manning probably plays. So protecting Arch, who is obviously coming off a concussion, you think would be at utmost importance. So hey, Nash, Evan, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you guys because I've been stressing myself out about it. I'm trying to put it lightly. Does Texas go spread here early in this football game? Does Texas attack through the quick game? Or do we see more big personnel, play action shots? We've said it all the time, but more pounding our head against the wall?
It would be coaching malpractice to not, given all of the context of everything going on with this team. You either are starting a backup quarterback who doesn't have the arm strength that Arch does, and it excelled in RPOs in the short game where he was at. But again, not SEC play. He was playing against G6 teams. Like, we can't be expecting him to do these long-winded dropbacks with this offensive line going downfield. Or you got a guy who's concussed, who can't be taking hits. Like, it has to be spread out, hit those quick slants, hit those screens, hit those RPOs. Like, we can't be doing this we can't be doing the stuff where he's getting shot in the backfield for no reason because we want to do play action on 2nd and 10. There's no fake on a 2nd and 10. You're not playing for the run on 2nd and 10. So yeah, like, they have to. I think this is the game where Sark kind of does go, hey, we do have to win this. This is really the most important game of the year so far. We're going to put the offense in the best spot to succeed, Arch in the most safe way to succeed. Or if it is Caldwell, then the way that Caldwell can operate. But it has to be this game.
I need it, man. I've got the good Longhorn on one side, like the Angel Longhorn, and then the Devil Longhorn. And the Angel Longhorn is like, yes, it is our best path to moving the football. That's where we cooked last week. I hate to say cooked, bringing in the youth crowd as well. But that's just probably the best offense that we can run. We can't run the football. We're probably going a little too deep into our tight end room a little too consistently. And the Devil Longhorn, who's like, nuh-uh, you have a defense that's been on the field a lot and you want to establish a running game. So you're going to put the big personnel out. You're going to grind out a couple of 2-yard runs and then pick up a pre-snap penalty. And we're going to be in 3rd and long all day. Man, I can't do that at all. I can't handle it again. I'm telling you. What do you think, Nash?
You're going to be pissed off. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to be happy, and you're going to be pissed off. That's what's going to happen, okay? I can tell you right now what Steve Sarkisian can do. Steve Sarkisian doesn't give a shit. Oh, I already said it. He didn't give a shit.
I can't say it.
He does not give a damn what anybody thinks, who's bitching. He is getting paid millions of dollars to go to do what he wants to do, and he is going to lose how he wants to lose, right? Like, if he loses, he's going to say, hey, it's because I ran my game plan. I did what I'm going to do, right? And I lost. I didn't listen to anybody else. I didn't give in to pressure, right? If I failed, it's because of me, and I'm going to own up to that. But, man, I think that you kind of like this. Is how I know that it's not going to happen is if you listen to his comments. I think after the Kentucky game, he literally said, "Hey, I'm passing up on playing games like this where he's like, I can score 50 points a game, and our defense is going to be in these games where right." But he has a clear mentality of what he wants his team to do. He wants his team to be physical. He wants his team to dominate. He wants his team to be tough, and that all starts with the running game. And he is going to continue to pound this team into a wall until they've either broken through that wall or they've turned into a pulp. But I can just tell you right now what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot of the same stuff until we get into really, I mean, when you start to see Texas down to where, hey, we have to have it, like down like 3 scores, that's when you start to see Steve Sarkisian. He's like, oh, by the way, I've had this gasoline over here that I'm ready to pour on this fire now. And then you start to see the offense scoring. But, yeah, and one of the maddening things about this 2025 Texas team.
And I hate to say it, but, like, when you go 11 personnel or if you even went 10 personnel, I don't know if Sark, realizes that's still a thing. But if you went 10 personnel, and, I love Sark. I'm just having my fun. But if you did go 11 personnel, defenses know, like, you're not running Arch this week, in my opinion, like he's coming out, so you remove that, +1 that you can create with the quarterback run game. Will that play into Sark's game plan? I'm sure it will. But maybe he just lets Arch whip it around if it is indeed Arch, or maybe we see a lot of early Matthew Caldwell RPOs. But first, we're going to see a word from our sponsor, Dave McClellan, and we're going to hear a little about how Vandy might approach the game with Texas.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
Alrighty, guys. I don't think we really know how Texas. Nash seems pretty confident how Texas attacks. I'm praying that Nash is wrong. We'll see. I know we'll see 12 personnel at some point, but I just want to see a lot less of it. As far as what sets and personnel groupings that we see from Vandy, y'all are going to run a lot. You talked about having 2 big tight ends. Obviously, Stowers is a threat, really good in the pass game. And then you have a 6'7" monster that can run block you to death on the other side, who can also go out and make some fantastic grabs on his own right with his pretty big catch radius. So think we see mostly big personnel sets from the doors this Saturday, Will?
You know what? It's been a weird last 4-game stretch or 5-game stretch for Vanderbilt. If you'd ask me this 5 games into the season, I would say absolutely. You're going to see a ton of multi-tight end sets, a lot of fullbacks involved. For whatever reason, Vanderbilt offensive coordinator Tim Beck has kind of gotten away from that in some ways, specifically in the Missouri game and in the Alabama game. A little bit less utilization of the tight ends, a little bit more spread out personnel. And it's one of those classic things that how much is that overthinking it versus how much of that is, you see the defense on the other side of you, see the athletes on the edge, and you have to kind of change up what you're doing a little bit. It's kind of a very up in the air thing of how Vanderbilt's going to attack this Texas defense. You saw last week against Missouri, early in the game, they had some of that jet sweep action, some of that read option action. And then for whatever reason, Vanderbilt kind of went away from that in a lot of ways. To be honest, I think it's an extremely big coin flip how Vanderbilt's going to attack this defense. You're going to see what you've seen out of Vanderbilt, a lot of complicated quasi triple option read option schemes. It's way too simplistic to call it a triple option offense. That's not what they're doing whatsoever. I think Vanderbilt needs to, and this is where it's the ultimate, can they do it? A lot easier said than done. Vanderbilt needs to utilize some guys in space. through jet sweep action. I think Vanderbilt's going to try to establish the run. That's what they do. But this Texas defense, that's exactly what they're built to stop. It's kind of the same way on the other side. If Texas comes out and tries to run the football directly into Vanderbilt's defense, I don't think they're going to have a ton of success. But where Vanderbilt's defense or overall team weakness lies is against the pass. And I think maybe Texas is going to utilize that. One of my keys to this game, I don't want to jump ahead of things, but Diego Pavia is going to have to beat Texas with his arm. I just don't see a way after what I saw last week against Missouri. I don't see a way that Vanderbilt's going to have those, 10 to 16 play drives against this Texas defense. I think they're too athletic. I think the front is too strong. And I don't see a way Vanderbilt's just going to consistently pick up 3 to 6 yard gains. I don't necessarily see that. That doesn't mean abandoning the run by any stretch of the imagination, but Vanderbilt's going to have to get a little more exotic, getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. I would like to see the tight ends utilized over the middle of the field. That's been one of my complaints. I don't have a lot of complaints about how Tim Beck has called plays and emphasized how this offense and its playmakers are utilized. But oftentimes, like Eli Stowers will have 3 catches in a game like he did last week, and Cole Spence will have 0. To me, it needs to be highlighted, bolded, italicized, whatever you want to call it, that these tight ends need to have 10-plus targets a game. That's where you need to be getting the football and make these defenses defend that. I know Texas has talented safety. I think Taff is playing based on everything I'm seeing. We'll see. But those tight ends are just nightmare matchups. I mean, it doesn't matter who you have. They're too fast for linebackers. They're too big for safeties. I need to see utilization of Eli Stowers and Cole Spence. So I need to see Vanderbilt utilize the jet sweep game. I need to see them utilize tight ends, and then that kind of will create playmaking opportunities for those guys on the outside like Junior Sherrill and Trey Richardson.
That's well said, man. Those tight ends are very scary to think about. You could put burnt orange on. Wow, put it on right now, and you'd sound just like us talking about tight ends and want to see a little bit more involvement from those guys. I talked about Texas playing a little bit of a bend but don't break style. It's not any secret to anyone, but that does come with some soft coverage on the outside, particularly at times. And there are some giveaway yards, if you will. And of course, they tighten up when they feel the time is needed. But again, I am glad that we're not. I hate to say it, but the Texas isn't lining up across from Brennan Thompson this week, because that guy he's a blur, man. I mean, the guy that could fly around. And then obviously the Anthony Evans on the other side, so Vandy doesn't have that maybe take your top off the speed or take the top off the defense type speed at wide receiver. But I mean, they still have some really good possession players. Like you said, who's the red zone threat? I mean, I think he has like 5 touchdowns, but a bulk of them are in the red zone.
Junior Sherrill.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and they're very, Diego distributes the ball pretty evenly between his tight ends, his receivers. They do have a clear number one, yes, but I mean, these are other guys down the depth chart, second receiver, third receiver, both tight ends that are capable of moving the sticks on you and beating you as well. So I mean, there is a lot to worry about with the Texas defense. How does Vanderbilt come out and attack? You saw Mississippi State in the spread have success. You saw Kentucky in the 2-minute drills at the end of both halves when they were in spread and attacking with a little bit of tempo. You saw them have success. That worries me. Evan, what's your biggest overall worry? It could be on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. What do you have for me?
Well, I did want to say one thing about the red zone and the scoring, that you look at the last 3 games, those real big ones against Alabama, LSU, Missouri. Vanderbilt either scored on a run, or I think there was one passing touchdown, which is to Spence, which was like a 1 yard, like just dump it off to the guy. So they haven't been threatening like through the air or getting that. They've needed to score by getting to the goal line and then getting it in, which clearly they're very good at. Pavia also had a little bit of a longer run. I think he was either in the red zone or just barely outside of it. But that is where Texas has a strength. Like they can stop a team at the goal line if they really need to. That's where that bend don't break comes in. Vanderbilt's going to need to find a way to score once they get inside the 10. Now, what worries me is Texas has shown that they are a little bit more susceptible than we thought they would be to giving up those longer plays, those 40-plus yard touchdowns. I think of the one to Booth against Mississippi State where Leonga Lafau, I don't know where he was going on that play, but it just ran free. The guy ran for 65 yards when Texas – that probably should have iced the game for Mississippi State. So, I do think a little bit of that inexperience in the back end when it comes to maybe Taff not playing. You're going to have Phil Smee out there, Littleton as well. And, like there's some dudes on this Vanderbilt team who, like, like there's gonna be 1 or 2 plays this game where you're gonna go, how are they so damn open 30 yards down the field, and suddenly the Longhorns have a breach and there's a tight end running deep into your own zone. But I do think a wrinkle that does favor the Longhorns is Vanderbilt's gonna have trouble scoring in general if they get inside the 20 and can't throw it in from there. They're gonna have to try to ground and pound it through, and that is where Texas can get Shaw and Brevard and Burke out there, get big, get strong, and like we've seen it, teams can't run the ball on the goal line against Texas. So maybe that's something that Vanderbilt solves, but that's where I would have a little hope for the Longhorns.
For sure, man. I mean, obviously very, very big on the interior. It's not necessarily my biggest worry, but it's just how does the O-line perform for Texas? Nash, give me your projected starting 5, brother. Sorry, Rob, I meant to get to this question earlier.
I mean, I'm going to go with Cole starting at center, Brooks, and then just the rest of the usual guys, Campbell at right guard, Baker at right tackle, and then Gooseby at left tackle. Really something that I'm watching for in this game is, this feels like the Colin Simmons, hey, go put on a show and, show why you're, such a highly paid player and why you should be going potentially number 1 overall in the future NFL draft. Diego Pavia is one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL or in the NCAA right now. And this is one of those deals where, hey, we've seen Colin Simmons, like he is the guy that we put as a QB spy out there. And it's going to be his job to contain Diego Pavia and to not let Pavia break loose. So to me, that feels like the key to the game right there. And that's kind of what worries me a little bit. I'm not worried about Colin Simmons not producing, but I mean, there's a reason why people make jokes about the Vanderbilt Commodores being the fighting Pavias, right? Because Pavia's he's a dog, man. I mean, this is a dude that he's earned his name being in the college football spotlight. I think he's a guy that a lot of people can root behind, get behind. He could have easily jumped to an Ohio State or just a top level school out there anywhere in the country, but he stayed in Vanderbilt, man. And I mean, it's kind of a really cool story watching Diego Pavia, but he's gonna be tough for Colin Simmons. So watching Colin Simmons and then also Anthony Hill, watching those two guys, contain them, that's gonna be kind of the story of the game for us.
Yeah, I think they probably switch it up, as far as who's spying in between Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill. I'm sure that you might even have a guy like Ty Anthony Smith, who didn't have a great game last week, maybe hopefully a little bit of a bounce back. You can say the same for Leona. I think they vary it up as far as who spies, but that's one thing, man. What gives me a little bit of confidence, you saw the way Texas performed last year defensively against Diego and against Marcel Reed. Now both quarterbacks have upgraded the quality of talent around them, that's for sure. Vanderbilt's better at running through the interior than they were last year. Same for A&M. So task is tougher than it was a year ago, and Texas probably isn't as good in the secondary as it was a season ago either. Will, tell me, we'll go ahead and do this. Give me 2 guys, one on each side of the ball. They're going to be the difference makers. Vanderbilt wins. A game ball for each, if you will.
On the defensive side, I'm going to choose 2 guys. Sorry. I know that's not the question. It's going to be a guy that was a key performer last season. He had the big pick 6 against Alabama that kind of set the tone for what that game was going to be. It's going to be Randon Fontenette. He's had a solid season so far. He plays that star position in Vanderbilt's 4-2-5 defense that I mentioned early. He's had a good year, hasn't had any big highlight plays or anything along those lines. And so if he can create a turnover at an opportune time, if he can contain Texas's offense, whoever is starting at quarterback, I know Arch is a bit more of a scrambler. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to also choose kind of 2 guys. It's going to be the combination of Cedric Alexander and MK Young. My big question going into this game, I know Texas is going to do what every single team does. They just have the athletes that can possibly do it like Missouri did last year. They're going to come up with the groundbreaking idea of spying Diego Pavia. No one has ever thought of that in Diego Pavia's entire career. But you have to have the right guy that can do it. And oftentimes it can set Vanderbilt's offense up in advantageous positions, having to dedicate a guy to spying on Diego Pavia. But I think ultimately where this game comes down to is can Vanderbilt run the football? Both teams, number 3 in the country, Vanderbilt is in yards per carry on offense against FBS opponents. Texas, number 3, yards per carry against teams running the football on the defensive side. Can Vanderbilt get those consistent 3 to 5 yard gains. So I'm going to go MK Young and Cedric Alexander. I think one of my major keys to the game is Vanderbilt creating those explosive plays you guys were talking about. I think one of those 2 to 3 explosive plays that Vanderbilt's going to be required to make in order to win this game is going to have to come from that backfield in Cedric Alexander and MK Young.
Agree, man. I mean, I think if you do see a result that favors Vanderbilt when the clock is 0, you probably saw a game where Vandy was able to poke and prod Texas enough in the run game to eventually break a guy like MK Young free. Maybe it's not an 80-yarder like he housed last week, but it's a 25, 30-yarder. And Cedric Alexander, who runs really, really hard, all of a sudden he becomes even tougher to tackle. And so I don't want to see a situation in which Vandy, it looks like they've broken the spirit or the will of Texas, and we're really struggling with that ground game, because that's not a scenario in which Texas walks out of DKR with a win. I mean, almost zero chance. Now, same question, man. Give me your game ball, predicted game ball on each side of the football for Texas or Vandy if you have Vandy winning.
No, yeah, I'm gonna predict a Texas win for my game balls, just for my own mental psyche right here. But I think that look, the Longhorn, the sunglass, the burnt orange sunglasses in me wants to be like, yeah, Michael Taft, woo, game ball, right? But I think that he is going to be severely limited in his snaps on the field if he is even playing. So I'm going to shift my game ball to I'm not going to give it to Hill or to Simmons. I think I'm actually going to go to Anthony Hill Jr. I think that he kind of has been overlooked a little bit this year. And you saw him, like, he had no sacks coming into this last game versus Mississippi State, and he all of a sudden, and then that carried all the way into the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden he gets 2.5 sacks. I think you start to see Anthony Hill with he might have really started to really woken himself up this last towards the end of the last game. So Anthony Hill's on the defense, and then offensively, I think that as much as nobody wants to see this, right? And Steve Sarkisian, he's going to have to go in the press conference, and he's going to be told, "What are you doing, running Arch Manning, letting Arch Manning get hit, with concussion after coming out of a concussion?" Look, go tell Arch Manning yourself that he's not going to run. See what Arch Manning tells you. This is one of those deals where you can try and put a leash on the quarterback, but I think that Arch Manning and his toughness, this is just he has that mentality that you want and the personality that you want in a quarterback. And I think Arch Manning is going to have a couple of these plays that you're just like, man, you got it. You got to commend the dude's toughness. And I think that it's not going to be, some wildly efficient game, right? But he has a play that gets the job done, is this the difference in the game. So he's going to get my offensive game ball.
I got to stop letting you go first, man. Yeah, you got to take the guy Anthony Hill, who he said out loud.
Low hanging fruit.
Right? He's got this one circled, and that was many, many months ago. So, all right, Evan, I'll let you maybe you're still my offensive guy. Who you got, brother?
No, I mean Hill's a great pick on the defense. He played so well last week, and I think it's the same kind of environment that works for it. I made a statement on Twitter. We talked about this guy last week, or I think it was in the post-game show we talked about. I put it in our private chat too. Listen, man, Emmett Mosley is the truth. He is the next guy at Texas. They had that little ramp-up period. He was injured. It wasn't even like Golden, where Golden was playing, and he wasn't getting as many touches as Bond. Mosley, now that he's good to go, and he's actually getting targets and getting on the field in 11 personnel, what do you know? He's got the best hands on the team, is the best route runner, and is making 2 of the biggest catches of the game. I mean, that catch in overtime was an NFL catch. Now, he only got 1 foot down, but it was the hands were NFL-wise. It's a little bit of cope, because I do think I'm a little bit tired of Wingo being this guy that they're asking to do a lot of downfield. I love the deep shots. I love the screen game. Keep that going. Wingo clearly isn't the dude when it comes to we need 3rd and 7. We need a slant to hit. We need an inside. We need someone to find a soft spot. I do think Endries and Moore need to be used a little bit more in that shallow and the picking up the 3rd down game. But I think Mosley, man, this is the game where if you really need a guy to win one-on-one on the outside with, Vanderbilt's got good cornerbacks. I wouldn't say you're facing the SEC's best cornerbacks, and they need a dude to step up in a game. I think this might be the one where the receipts will be pulled out afterwards of the Emmett Mosley breakout, because I think it can happen.
It really does feel like it's similar timing to a Matthew Golden last year, or Matthew Golden started to break out. And Emmett Mosley, for different reasons than Matthew Golden, he, injuries kind of held him back, but I could really kind of see that happening. Now, I will say when Evan started that, it kind of sounded like the dude that at the bar that you're asking him for his opinions, and then he's like, when you finally crack him, he's like, okay, I'll tell you, but come here.
This will hit.
It's coming. Yeah, man. I think it was the Sunday morning recap or the rewatch show that we talked about. Mosley has to be the number one. I think that's clear cut by now. The dude who seems to be always open. Obviously, big possession type receiver in big moments when we struggle to move the ball. I've got the key. One of the big keys to this, obviously, being who runs the football best. But right behind that is who handles third down conversions the best as well. Vandy has had more success, than Texas had up to this point in that regard. And so, hey, maybe a lot more looks at Evan Mosley. I'm giving Sark a pass on this one because obviously Evan was hurt for a little while. And so the fact that we're just finding maybe our number one receiver here again in early November, a la Matthew Golden, at least we're finding him, and so hopefully we see him take over a little bit. For my two guys, again, I don't even know who wins this game, truthfully. So it's hard I almost want to say Vandy guys, and that's not being a hater. That's just being honest with you. But I will go with defensively. I'm going to go with Cole Brevard on the interior, thinking he has a couple of tackles for loss, steps up, makes a couple of big plays. So hopefully Diego, tries to get loose up the middle one time on a scramble, and Cole Brevard just sticks one hand out. Not that it's going to be that easy to tackle Diego, but give me Cole again. I imagine one of you guys would take Ant Hill, but that's the guy that I think ultimately Texas wins is a big and deciding factor on that side. Offensively, you gone with Arch, you gone with Mosley. Let me go ahead and show Wingo some love as hopefully a wide receiver 2 role, maybe more like 5 targets, 4 catches. And it seems, when Ryan gets his hand on the ball, he looks as good as anybody running it that's been in burnt orange in a long time. I mean, that dude, as strong and physical as he runs and not clearly as fast as he's moving, we just got to find a way to get him in the open field somewhat whatsoever, whether it be on the quick screens. I think we got to continue to take shots with him because he's shown the ability to get behind defenses, just been a lack of hitting them. And then boom, last week he found a couple. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. We'll go backwards. I want Will's prediction on this last, as far as from the guests. Evan, score prediction, who wins?
Yeah, 17-14 last week wasn't quite there. Dude, I really want to pick Vanderbilt to win this game. But I think I'm going to do like a 24-23, like Vanderbilt covers as the dog technically, and it's a 1-point game, and it maybe could be like a 31-30 type of thing, or a 28-25, 24. I think it's going to be a game that gets into the 20s, but because of that style of play Vanderbilt has, where they're want to control the ball, limit the amount of possessions, we're not going to get another one of those 55-48s. So yeah, 24-23 is what I'm going to lock in.
That's also what I kind of said this morning. Again, I don't know. Nash, how about you, brother? 6.5 confidence, man. Let's see it.
Yeah, hey, don't expect any rationale behind this score prediction here, but I'm going to go with 31 Texas, 17 Vanderbilt. I think that I think that we're going to get a defensive score in there somewhere. This team, they're just clearly they turn the football really at a high rate. Vanderbilt, they take care of the football, but I don't like. I mean, every play you see Texas defensive players, they're swatting at footballs, they're punching footballs. I mean, you watch guys, they go to the NFL and they're immediately, punching balls out. Like you can see the same things that we're seeing here at Texas, go through and work for them at the next level. I think that maybe we get some, we catch Vandy, like, oh wait, we hadn't faced a run defense doing this to us. No, this isn't to say that I think that Vanderbilt's not, just not going to show up. I think Vanderbilt's going to be a really tough game, but I do think that Texas finds ways to separate, and that this defense just holds the line for us. And I mean, really, this home game being a inside DKR, really great weather for football. I think it's going to all come together for Texas, but it's also just going to be one of those things where it's like I have a feeling this is going to be that game where it's like, well, there's the preseason number 1 AP team that everybody thought they might have seen. thought might have been coming. But thanks for showing up in week 10.
I'm hoping you're right, man. I'd love to come over here, text you Saturday afternoon, and be like, "Hey, great call, man." Texas wins by 2 touchdowns. Yeah, maybe that'd be the best performance of the season. I think Vanderbilt's clearly a better team than Oklahoma, who again, and it may be a bit walking dead there, even with the 6-2 record. But that November is more difficult than Texas is, and we have a pretty tough November. All right, Will, drop it on us. How much does Vandy beat Texas by?
You already know I am predicting a victory here. I already alluded to that. I will add on, just because, I am a sunshine pumper to some extent. I am a homer. Actually, by the Vanderbilt fan base, I've never been accused of being a sunshine pumper. Actually, my nickname is Wet Blanket Will, established by the Door Report listenership, because I'm always slightly negative. However, this year I will brag a little bit. I am 8-0 predicting Vanderbilt's outcomes this season. So just a little brag there. But I think this is going to be a tough ball game. To me, this is a complete coin flip. This is Vanderbilt's 4th straight game playing a top 20 AP opponent, like I mentioned earlier. I do have Vanderbilt winning this one 27-20, and there is a particular reason that I have it at 27-20 versus like 28-21. I think there will be multiple field goals kicked in this game. I think the teams will move the ball relatively, and this is relatively, well in between the 30s. I think both defenses will do that kind of bend but don't break aspect to their defense, and you'll see some field goals kicked by both sides. Now, I will say the last 2 weeks I've gone in completely opposite directions for Vanderbilt. Against LSU, I thought it was going to be a slug-it-out, low-scoring game. Vanderbilt won that one 31-24. Then I tried to adjust my pick and go against my gut and predict that Missouri game was going to go in the same fashion. I think I predicted 31-27, and that was a slug-it-out, low-scoring defensive game. So I'm going 27-20. I'm genuinely not sure exactly how this game is going to play out or feel. Both teams, if you just look at the blank stats, you would think this is going to be a low-scoring football game. He's got the shiesty on. Love to see that, the Diego Pavia look. Texas on the road is obviously a tough matchup. There's no denying that in Austin. But I think what is going to ultimately happen is, you've seen some cracks in the dam, for lack of a better way of saying that, in Texas the last couple weeks against Kentucky and Mississippi State. I think those 80-plus plays played by the defense in both of those games is ultimately going to wear down this Texas defense. I think this will be close to a tie ball game at halftime. Ultimately, Vanderbilt's going to get a late score that puts it away for him. 27-20, Vanderbilt takes this one.
I can't hate a word you said, man, because that is my big fear. I do not want Vandy even at, like I said, at the end of 3 quarters at halftime. I want Texas to jump out, have a 10-point first quarter, make a little bit of a statement. Again, make it easy for that crowd to kind of rally behind the defense and the crowd to rally together. If we can't stop Vandy on third downs, and Vandy's having success running the ball, that to me is that's tough. But yeah, Nash has officially broke out the shiesty. He is the highest in confidence. He just predicted a 2-score victory. So I mean, it is shiesty season here.
But he didn't predict like the 2-score victory. I mean, the Alabama Vanderbilt game was a 2-score victory by Bama. However, Vanderbilt was driving down in the red zone, trying to take the lead, and that game ultimately ended a 2-score victory for Alabama. So I'll get a little that have a pass there, that how he predicted it is. A 2-score victory doesn't always mean like a blowout victory by any stretch.
No. My 2-score victory, by my own admission, was probably the least stuck my chest out 2-score victory I've ever predicted. I was like, it might happen. It could happen. I'm like the kid from Los Angeles Angels.
You did call for touchdown.
I mean, I could also see this game just being one of those like 14-10, just slug it out type games. I mean, there are so many directions I can see this game going, and it feels like every time I kind of predict how this season is going to go for Texas or Vanderbilt leading into a week, it feels like I'm always on the wrong side of things, regardless of how it goes.
And that's why I think that we might see Texas actually show up and be like a real team. And it's like, hey, wait, Vanderbilt's a real team now, so Texas showing up and win like that might confuse a lot of people. But at the same time, this could be some 5-3 defensive game. That would be hilarious. I'd love to see it.
It would be the first time. No, I'd be miserable. I'd be
miserable. I thought about sitting there from DKR watching that, and I'm like, no.
It would be the first time, Texas has put together, 3 phases in one football game. Would be really, really nice to see. But that's my big fear, man. Like I will say this, I kind of, we knew Kentucky would be low scoring. I did say there was a path to a high scoring game last week with Mississippi State, with their tempo, with as many defensive plays as we play. So I think Evan kind of had the overhitting just barely. Will has it. I think we see, like Will said, a lot of opportunities for both teams. They both do well. They both will move the football, in my opinion, between the 30s. Who converts their red zone opportunities? Who makes kicks? All of that is going to should decide the game. Hopefully it's burnt orange. No offense, Will. You're not coming down here, are you?
No, I won't be down for the Texas game. That'll be the last Vanderbilt game of the season I won't be in attendance for.
My man. Well, enjoy the rest of the Vandy season. I do have one more question for y'all before we dip. We can make it quick. Evan, give me one team in college football that's on upset alert this week. I think you're muted, buddy. I'm unmuting you. You're muted, Ev.
Buddy.
My bad. I was pulling up the ESPN schedule because we talked about the SEC schedule this week, and there was one game that was like, what was it? South Carolina. Their spread was way too high. Yeah, South Carolina, Ole Miss. They're like a 13-point spread, and they've played all those games within 10. And like, I don't think South Carolina is any good. They got a terrible offensive line, but it's one of those games where you, like, sneakily they just show up and Sellers has his best game of the year, and you're like, oh, that's right, he was a Heisman candidate. He was who I picked for my Heisman. Heisman candidate, number one overall pick guy, and they just beat Ole Miss out of nowhere, and suddenly Texas is like, oh, nice, that's a freebie for us. So yeah, I'll call that one.
I like it. How about you, Will? You got an upset?
So this is outside the SEC, and I'm not sure I have a ton of logic behind it. I just saw the line, and it jumped out to me. So this year has been the least gambling I've ever done in my life. Usually I'm an absolute degenerate. It probably has to do with Vanderbilt actually being competitive week in, week out, and now in contention for the college football playoff. But I'm going to go to a Vanderbilt opponent from earlier in the season who has already fired their head coach. I'm going to go Virginia Tech over Louisville. You're going to have one of those kind of weird environments. It's at Virginia Tech. Louisville, granted, they have had some decent competition, but not that great. I can see that one as a real upset. People have been kind of using this upset moment as like predicting things like, oh, I think Vanderbilt's going to beat Texas. I'm like, is that really like a shocking upset? I mean, it's basically a coin flip game on a neutral site. So I'm going to try to pick one that's in the double digits on lines here. So I'm going to say Virginia Tech over Louisville.
I don't like that at all, man. I got Louisville in the playoffs. Did a preseason show about it. I love Miller. I don't like that one bit. We don't need Sandman to take over.
This isn't like, I genuinely, like, if I evaluated this game based on the rosters and the stats and everything associated with that, that would not be my pick. But it feels like in college football, that's not how it always breaks down. And it feels like there's some random moments where lesser teams beat greater teams. And I feel like this might be a moment for Virginia Tech where nobody's really talking about it. Louisville's a top 20 team, and this is the moment that they go on the road and get an unexpected loss.
I mean, honestly, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, dang, that's not an easy game for them. But I don't know, man. It kind of feels personal. You got two of my playoff teams going, basically have season-ending losses, this weekend. Nash, anyone catching your eye as far as upset potential?
I got one that I'm going to stick with so I look smart. But I got one that I'm going to say that I'm too afraid to go with. I actually do think California could upset could upset Virginia this weekend. Cal, they got a pretty good football team. I mean, they produced Fernando Mendoza and also Jack Injuries. Like they clearly they got something going over there, going right over there, and they've been close. So I think that they could walk out with a victory on that one. But man, the one that I like that I was too scared to go with. How crazy would it be?
Say it.
If Penn State beats Ohio State. How insane would that be? If Penn State beats Ohio State, first off, first big game after James Franklin's been fired. I'm sorry, Iowa. Y'all don't count. Okay? Right? First big game. If they won that game, they'd be like, we told you. We told you. That's why we got rid of him, right? So, but man, how wild would it be if 3-4 Penn State, who was number 2 preseason AP team, goes out there and beats the number 1 7-0 Ohio State Buckeyes, who I'm not going to say they haven't played anybody because the Texas Longhorns, I do think, are somebody, but they haven't played much.
I agree with you, man. I think it would be downright hilarious. I predicted it preseason. I said, I made fun of myself the other day on the show. I said, I guaranteed a Penn State winning this game before the season, and now Vegas has Ohio State as 20.5-point favorites. It's a little bit humbling. Yeah, it would be funny. I really thought you were going to say Georgia, Florida. I really did after John last night, basically guaranteeing a Georgia win and cover. I kind of thought you were going Georgia, Florida. For me personally, y'all Will kind of touched on, I think Nash, you touched on Cal and Virginia. I think that'll be a pretty fun game. But no, I love Evans, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. Ole Miss got to be tired the last 2 weeks, 2 emotional weeks, playing on the road, played a lot of snaps on defense. Maybe unlike Oklahoma, South Carolina figures out that the run game can work there, and they stick with it because that's Oklahoma just completely went away from it in the fourth quarter, which was good.
I also think Oklahoma can pull out of an upset. I'm not. I
don't even know if it's an upset, though, is it?
They're Tennessee's ranked ahead, and also they're favored, and it's a home game. So
neutral field, those two teams they're going to be a pick 'em essentially, though.
If y'all
I'm going off the circumstances that we're given. The lines and rankings favor Tennessee. I mean, look, I'm not trying to defend. You got me defending Oklahoma. This is sick.
Set you up, baby. Trap was set. You took the bait. No, I get it though. It's not a game I expect them to win. I don't think many do expect them to win, but at the end of the day, I think that they do have a chance on that one. Guys, that's going to be it for us. Appreciate y'all doing a little overtime here. Always a lot of fun to have you on, Will. I really, really do appreciate it. I'll be bugging you down the line to get back on here. Hopefully after this weekend, y'all keep winning. Definitely want y'all to win that battle with Tennessee there at the end of the season. Y'all owe those guys 1 or 2. Nash, Evan, thank you very much. Guys, hop on InsideTexas.com right now. Go subscribe for $1. Go like this video. Cost you nothing to do that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and we'll see y'all next time.